Welcome to Financially Savvy in 20 Minutes, a podcast hosted by international award-winning author, two-time TEDx speaker and investor, Natalie Torres Haddad. She will share the tips and tricks from interviews with self-made entrepreneurs, leaders, and those who have attained financial freedom while learning financial literacy.
Hello. Welcome to Financially Savvy in 20 Minutes. And we can't believe it's the end of 2020. So many of us are already not only ready to start 2021, but we're also thinking about how are we supposed to get our finances in order? How are we supposed to plan? And for me, it's also the end of the year is just looking back at what goals I had set for myself, if I accomplished them, if some of them were going to be long-term. And this is the best time to be also to look at your list of what you are grateful for, like the things that you have accomplished. I know I have a lot of issues when it comes to celebrating the wins and sometimes focusing on what the next project is going to look like, or beating myself up because it didn't come out the way I wanted it. Maybe not perfection, which it doesn't exist. Anyhow, today my special guest is actually somebody that I've worked with a lot now because she's been coaching me, and it's really helped me to get past through a lot of my own personal battles, barriers, and really sometimes it's just being able to deal with imposter syndrome or other things that have, caused me to not be as successful as I'd like to be, or really just be happy in the place that I am. So for her, you have to check her out. Obviously, we'll give her information at the very end, but Dania Rivas is someone that has helped me get past through that. And this year alone has been extremely successful in the sense that I didn't expect that, but I'd also had to deal with a lot of things and the fears that I put in my head and the fears that were real and the challenges I had to overcome. But being able to connect with her at least every other week to, keep me accountable and just work through some of the stuff that I had no idea. And the biggest aha for me this year from her was understanding that I have something called the Saboteur. So Dania, can we just go right into it? First, thank you for being here and tell us a little bit more what the Saboteur was.
Hi everyone, I'm Dania Rivas. Thanks for the intro, Natalie. And it's usually a big aha for a lot of people, the Saboteur, and just finally understanding and realizing that we all have a Saboteur. It's also known as the inner critic, or negative self-talk. And so what is it? What is actually a Saboteur? And this is our internal voice that tells us we are not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not young enough, or we're too old, we're not educated enough, all of the we're not enough parts of it, right? Or the you should be doing this, you should be living your life like this. All of the shoulds that you can think of, that usually is coming from your Saboteur. And I don't care who you are, you have a Saboteur. We all have it. And a lot of us live our lives not knowing that we have this Saboteur that's present every day, throughout our day, throughout our lives. And it drives a lot of our decision making. We're usually making decisions through the Saboteur. And so the aha moment is, okay, I know what my Saboteur sounds like. I know what it says to me. I know how the Saboteur makes me feel. And so once you're aware of it, then you can see how the Saboteur is actually driving your decision making every day. Yes. And so you can break that Saboteur down and say, hey, it's okay. You can go chill out. I don't need you right now. And then you begin to live your life and make decisions through you, right? Authentically, and what you want to do, not should be doing, right? What you want to do.
I love that. For those that are watching this through YouTube, if you're not listening just through the regular podcast, she's in Portland right now, and I'm in the mountains, and you can see some of this beautiful snow behind me. You just said it, being authentically yourself and identifying how the Saboteur talks to me. I discovered this last year with you through the coaching, and I thought, oh my gosh, some of these reoccurring narratives I've been telling myself, I had no idea I was not only self-sabotaging myself, but I felt like I didn't have enough worthiness, not necessarily worthiness, but the credibility. And I was afraid if I were to endure in some projects that it would ruin my credibility. And working through it with you, that's something that allowed me to just get past that and come out with these books and becoming a bestseller on one of them. It's like these things that I was so afraid to move forward with. And a lot of these projects takes years, right? So it's just kind of what you said. It's this reoccurring voice. And you taught me how to say it. I talk to myself, said, Saboteur, I recognize you're here, but I'm not listening right now. Even though it was scary to say that, because there's moments where I'm like, maybe it's right, depending what day it is. So for people that are listening, what do you, what is the thing that you always say is kind of like it's a helpful tip, especially a lot of people have that fear when it comes to dealing with their money. That's, the biggest thing I talk about is like money's such one of the strongest energies that I know of. You don't have it, you are dealing with a lot of stuff. If you do have it, you're still dealing with other stuff. But, kind of what do you recommend for people that are probably going through that, like the lack or scarcity mentality?
Yeah, so it's kind of asking yourself, well, what is my relationship with money like? What's the history behind that? And how much does my saboteur pop up when I think about my relationship with money? And so, how in the ways have my saboteur formed this relationship that I have with money? Um, and then being able to separate, distinguish, your relationship with the kind of relationship you want with money, and then what your saboteur tells you you're supposed to have with money. That way you can maybe let go of some of the fears that you have behind not having enough, right? Maybe it's just in the place that you need to be at that moment, but there's this fear telling you, like, no, you cannot be in that place of feeling insecure, right? You have to get out of it.
Yeah.
So it's just about asking what your relationship is like, and how and when does my saboteur creep in and start driving more of that fear or any decision making that's behind money.
Thank you for that. You're right, because sometimes it's cultural, right? Sometimes it's we are bringing this from our parents,
Yep.
how they deal with money, how we deal with money. And I laughed as you were talking because it made me think of one of our last sessions. I'm going to be very vulnerable. People hear me out, but you're asking me kind of like, what is it that I want for the end of the year? And I sounded like a broken record because it was almost the exact same thing I had said last year at the end of the year. But this year I recognized there was a few things that I had worked on, which was a big deal. But the wording was very powerful, because I used to say, and I still would say, I want to slow down. And and what did you ask me? You're like, what does slowing down mean to you?
What do you actually think about when you say I want to slow down?
And the first thing that popped in my head was the yellow light of a traffic signal. And for me, every time I see the yellow light, it doesn't mean to slow down for me. It means hurry up before it turns red.
Especially if
and I always say that. It's exactly how it's been in my life too.
Yeah.
So working with you, you told me to use different wording, and spacing it out was something that's what I was really wanting. Not necessarily, I do want to slow down, but I want to be able to have the right time and space for myself, because a lot of people are dealing with that. What do you have, like a routine to kind of get yourself through that, especially if you're having those, I call them funk days, or just funk moments, or those kind of like, what am I doing?
Oh yeah. I have many of those days. I have to just remind myself that it's all about how I set the tone for the day, because I am going to like face some times where I'm feeling overwhelmed, like I have to hurry up and get something done and I want to slow down, right? So it's all about setting the tone for the day, and that means waking up gently. I love telling people about waking up gently and going to bed gently, right? So wake up gently, and that could be whatever that is for you. But for me, it's not rushing to get on my phone or on my computer right away when I wake up. It means maybe just lying there in bed, trying to remember my dream. Or maybe it's like 15-30 minutes of meditation. Or maybe it's just sitting and reading a book, or just enjoying my coffee in silence, not doing anything else. And then I fall asleep the same way. It's like I take away all electronics, not allowed in the bedroom with me, right? Those sleep in another room, and just doing something very gentle to end the day. And that just really helps me be present and focused when I do when I have moments of just like, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And, things are starting to feel chaotic. I've already set a tone for my day. And that's how I'm going to choose to continue to face some of these more chaotic or hard moments throughout my day.
I never thought about ending the day the same way I started. I've, talked to you about like, I do the journaling, I do the reading, I meditate. Yes, my morning coffee, all the stuff that I have, but I never thought about trying to do the same in the evening. And I'm definitely going to use that as a takeaway, because maybe sometimes I'll write something that I'm grateful for the day, but yeah, it has a lot to do with that. Just kind of figuring out what our routine is in place, how we view ourselves, and um, less guilt to be able to, self-care, right? You've always told me like, why do you, and for me it was that there was a beginning of the year, even before the pandemic, I talked to you about like, well, I want to work, my dream was to work in a cabin, to have like, less distractions. And yet every single time I had mentioned it to you, I'd say, like, I felt like it was when I was like, who do I think I am? Like, when, that's for like what rich people do, or that's what like I started to come up with all these random reasons why I don't deserve that type of space for or self-care for myself. And you're like, why do you put so much guilt on just relaxing? And sometimes I think of it, is it, oh, I'm not being productive. And that's not true, right? Being sometimes still is being productive. So you
Absolutely.
help me work through that.
Yeah. And it's rest more than you work, because when you're well rested, you produce quality work. But
Yeah.
if you're always working and trying to produce and get things done, you may be getting things done, but the quality of that work may not be as good as if you were really well rested and present with yourself.
Yeah.
And the other thing about the saboteur is when you're really present with yourself, you recognize right away when that saboteur is popping up, and you're aware when you're in conversation with somebody else's saboteur. And
Yes.
that's like a really powerful tool to have when you know you're in conversation with someone's saboteur and not the authentic person, right? Not they're speaking through their saboteur and through their fears. And then our saboteurs love to talk to each other and
Yeah.
feed off of each other, right? So it's like
She loves company for sure.
exactly. So it's like breaking those two apart and saying, okay, you can let your saboteur into the conversation, but mine's going to stay out of it, and I'm going to speak through an authentic way.
And you're still speaking gently. It's not like you're being aggressive to the saboteur, and it's kind of that being, you sound like you're grounded because you are. And I think that's one of the things I really enjoy, especially those that follow you on Instagram, that see like you're out in nature, you're constantly doing these walks. We recently did the talk for Latino wage gap gender pay day,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of walking through how different we can be. You've managed to help me just kind of get past some of my own insecurities, talking about code switching, talking about how I had no idea I was functioning in corporate America for so many years now, more than 2 decades. And what I think about is, I do have superpowers because I do adapt easily, but at the same time I have to honor myself, my authenticity. And that's what, that's how I do better, and I get, hired more, because I allow myself to do that. So I wanted to share, people that are watching this or listening, to get to know you as well, because I think some of those, just those two words, I always talk about financial literacy being a foreign language.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that has to do with money, anything that has to do with our necessities, the luxuries, or just our hopes and dreams, obviously has a lot to do with money, but it's really how we perceive ourselves and how we have that relationship with money. The saboteur is definitely a voice I no longer allow, even though it creeps up many times, and depends what time of day.
Yeah.
But it's helpful to understand that I can identify that, and thank you for doing that, because it's helpful. And I know at the end of the year, this is the time where people should be writing down their, what they want for themselves in the next 12 months or 5 years, whatever it is. And I think I was looking at my little adventure book that I always take out at the end of the year, because I write down where's my next place that I want to travel to, and I'm itching to travel. It's been since March
Oh,
last, like as everyone is, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So being able to do something like that. Before we go, I know this is your business, this is what you've been doing, and maybe you could share why. The question I always start off on this podcast is asking people like, do you remember the first time you got paid different from the 9 to 5, but, for your own business, and why that became obviously like, it's kind of like your aha moment.
Yeah, the just the thought of venturing off on my own and starting my own business was terrifying. But I remember when I made, when I got paid for my first like coaching gig, for my first
Mhm.
coaching session, it was just one of those moments where it was like an aha, but also like, ah, like an
Yes.
exhale. Like I landed where I'm supposed to be. I can do this, and this is what I've been wanting to do, and I'm making it
And
happen.
it's only the beginning. I think that's the wonderful part when we start off. I still remember the first time I got paid too, and I'm like, oh, this is so exciting. And now you look years later, and I'm like, wow, it's not necessarily validation, but it's kind of that reminder, like, okay, I'm worth it. I'm, accepting that. Um, and before we go, the last session we had, um, I said these are the things that I'm going to hold myself accountable, and I appreciate you being part of that. And one of the books I've been telling you I've been reading is by Sir Ken Robinson, who just passed away a few months ago this year. He was one of my mentors, and one of his books, I read all of it. One of them is Out of Our Minds, and it's learning to be more creative. And working with you, I've been saying these are the things that I'm working on. There's certain projects that I'm working on that's been taking years, really, but it's allowing me to be a very creative, different outlet. And having someone like you to walk us through, like, okay, what is it that's what's scaring me, or what's, especially when it's something new. We're pivoting all the time.
Yeah.
You've pivoted as well, like, and I think that's something that's beautiful with our careers, is that we can see the formal education, the career path that's led us to where we are today. It's the end of the year. Do you have something that, maybe before we end, one, how people can also reach you, but do you have maybe one goal that you'd like to share with the world? I'm about letting people know that I asked the universe for something, and it comes. And actually, the last session we had, I text you about an hour and a half later that I had received this confirmation on this project that I've been working on forever, that it was getting paid, it was working. And I had to text you, so I'm like, oh my God, it happened. Whatever blockage I had, it worked. And so I thank you for that. But yes, one thing for yourself.
Something that I'm working on for myself.
Yeah, it could be like a wish, that, or a goal for next year.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, so many things, but really, it's one of my values is my one of my goals aligns with one of my values of just continuing to keep it real,
Mm.
to stay true to myself, to stay authentic, because that's where the real power and success comes through. I don't have to be like anybody else.
Oh, I love
I don't
that.
have to do anything like anyone else. What I'm doing and being real is what's working. And to me, that's how I honor myself, how I honor my values. And honestly, it's the ultimate form of self-care.
It really is.
Just staying
And
real.
I love that value, because I mean, that's what you do. You work with, diversification, inclusion. I mean,
Mhm.
you are unique in your field, but it's obviously needed, because it seems like almost now everyone is needing to hire people like you. So I like it when I see people sticking to their path, because it reminds us that we are supposed to be authentically ourselves, no matter how played out that word might sound, but it's true, and people will gravitate to that. So
Yeah.
for those that are listening, I recommend giving you some homework today. It's the end of the year. I hope you're taking time with, your loved ones, with yourself, being safe, and write down one thing at least you have, for one goal that you have for yourself, whether it is self-care, figuring out what your saboteur looks like,
Mhm.
but figuring out what you can do better to honor who you are. So thank you, Dani, for being a part of this. And if you can let people know how they can connect with you. I know you speak Spanish, but we're going to do a little different for that, and just want to see how people can connect with you at the end.
Yeah, thanks. So again, my name is Dania Rivas, and I am the founder of Inclusively Outdoors LLC. I just went through a rebrand. I was Wilder Life Coach LLC. I am now Inclusively Outdoors LLC, and I am a life leadership and DEI coach. I work mainly with the outdoor industry and helping them create their DEI initiatives and hold them accountable to fulfilling those DEI goals. But I also work with people from all walks of life. As you can see, Natalie's from the financial realm. So I do a lot of life coaching as well. And any BIPOC leaders that are out there in the outdoor industry that really want to step into their leadership potential, I love working with BIPOC professionals as well. So you can find me on Instagram. My handle is Inclusively Outdoors. And my email address is Dania Rivas at inclusivelyoutdoors.com.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being a part of it. I hope you have a safe, a happy holidays, and I look forward to recapping with you maybe a year from today, and
Yeah.
and seeing. I think it's always wonderful. I wish you and I would have recorded our first sessions together, because I think in looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's amazing how a month sometimes or months can really make a big difference. So I wish you all safe, happy holidays, and yes, good fortune and much abundance coming along. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
To learn more about the podcast, check out Financially Savvy in 20minutes.com. For more interviews, make sure you look up Financially Savvy in 20 Minutes on YouTube and Instagram TV. To hire the Trailblazer, as Forbes featured her the financial and mental health advocate for your next workshop or speaking engagement, follow Natalie at Financially Savvy Latina on all social platforms. All it takes is 20 minutes daily to become financially savvy. Music by Nikki and produced by Robert DeLude.